Greetings, user. Neural link established. Ready for takeoff.
Welcome everybody. It is time for the World Cup 2021 qualifier results. I think it's going to be a good time. Lots of surprises. We've seen 50 teams play this year, 2 more than last year. And so we're going to talk all about that today, as well as showing you guys the next round's map pool right afterwards. So I am Azer. Today we're joined by Dio.
Hello. Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here on the first official OWC stream for this year as well. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, Dio, our local player expert, I think. Good to have on the seed reveal, I think. And of course, we've also got Doomsday. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up, Azer? What's up, Dio? Are you guys excited as I am to get this reveal on? Oh, it's every single year. This is always one of the moments, at least for me, watching, casting, just seeing who's made it, who hasn't, and with so many teams having a go this year, there's a lot of eyes on this right now to see how it's panned out.
I think there were a lot of really interesting changes for a lot of the top 16, top 24 teams from last year as well. I think there's a lot of eyes on some particular teams. I know Brazil, Canada, Chile all had some really different expectations, I think, this year compared to last year due to some roster changes. So I'm excited to see exactly how those results pan out. There were a few other teams as well that had some really solid roster upgrades this year. So it's going to be a fun results list to go through, that's for sure.
Yeah, on top of that as well, a few new names as well popping into the OS World Cup this year. Some new countries as well that I believe haven't had a chance yet. Of course, we had Cambodia play the qualifiers this time. Of course, we'll find out how they did in a moment, but yeah, seeing new countries have a go is always fantastic as well.
Yeah, I think personally, I'm a big fan of seeing all these new players every year. So many countries swapped out so many people, and a lot of them are very new names to the general community. Like if you've been paying attention to a lot of the tournaments, especially I would say like 4-digit tournaments or just lower tournaments, you're going to be aware of them. But as far as like the big stage goes, if you think of all the big community tournaments this year, maybe have had less exposure. So finally they get a good chance to show their worth, and a lot of them certainly did. There's a lot of pretty interesting player performances, I think, that are very fresh names, and I think were a little bit unexpected.
Yeah, and so many teams where, even established teams have been completely swapped out this year. And it's not only the new teams, but also just seen as established teams that all of a sudden have a fresh set of paint, new paint. But hey, I think, looking at this, we might just about be ready.
I think we're pretty good to go. As always, there's 50 teams to go through, and it is already kind of late in the day, so we're going to be going pretty quick, I think, for a couple of these. So let's get right into it right now. Seed number 50, Colombia.
Unlucky for the Elmic squad this year. Not a very good performance out of qualifiers. They had a few people swap out to put on more Elmics, but the extra similar names were not quite enough to get them through this year.
They needed more Elmics. Cambodia up next as well. Again, fresh team. Have never played the World Cup before, so.
Yep. Always like to see new teams, but not this year.
And Latvia as well. Last year's qualifier ranking for them was 47th, so pretty standard performance, I would say.
Yeah, swapped out a few good players, notably a Colibed, so understandable that they unfortunately don't qualify this year, so good luck to them next year.
Alright, Israel up next, actually. This one might be a little bit of a surprise, but considering that last year they got 25th, but they also had Mr. Potato and Silver, so I think losing those two people proved to be a bit of a big hit.
Yeah, it did, really. Missing some hard carries like that. Unfortunately, no progression this time, but we'll see how they do next year. Thanks for playing, though, guys.
All right, Portugal as well. Last year got 33rd, so barely missed out on playing. This year, not so much barely, I think. A bit of a downgrade in performance, but...
Yeah, I think losing some of the stronger players in like King Lizard and Misery from last year definitely hurt their overall performance. So unfortunately, the rebuilding year not quite panning out with the qualification.
Decent hidden scores, though.
All right, Croatia up next. I don't actually have their last year's placing, but they did not qualify last year either.
Nah, they didn't. It's not going to be this year either.
Yeah, they did actually have a full 8-man roster this year, which is really solid, but yeah, not quite enough.
All right, Hungary, who is doing an exact repeat of last year, actually. Last year, they also got 44th, and now they got 44th.
The consistency on point right here. Sadly, not the kind they'd want, though.
Yeah, again, an upgrade from 6 members to 8, but still having the full roster, just not quite enough with how competitive it was.
All right, Estonia actually at 43rd this time. Again, a little bit of a downgrade, similar to Portugal, losing a lot of their pretty key players. Having a hard time keeping up, it looks like.
You know, Ansenth, no Abyssal this year. Tiger Claw as well was fairly solid for them last year, so even with adding Sidra and Revo, it just wasn't quite enough for this round.
You know, Switzerland, who got 43rd last year, so again, pretty consistent. Pretty decent DTs, though, actually.
Yeah, and Hard Rocks as well, but Hiddens and No Mods not quite going to be enough to get them progression this time, though. Not this year for the Swiss.
All right, it's Belgium now as well. Pretty similar roster to last year. Last year they got 36th. I think it's always a little bit sad for me seeing these guys because I think their players have been playing for such a long time, right? So I would have liked to see them qualify, but maybe next year.
Yeah, especially Hanori and 5 Joshi. Hanori playing 20 out of 20 maps in the qualifiers for both runs through the qualifying stage, but just not quite enough to carry them through this year.
All right, Slovakia up next. Again, kind of a similar story. They got 34th last year, so barely did make it. Not going to be this year either, but yeah, lots of presence in community tournaments, I think, from a few other players.
Yeah, a lot of these names I do see a lot. Unfortunately, though, just not getting the performance needed to qualify this time. A lot of good lads on the Slovakian team, but a hard luck, guys.
All right, up next, Vietnam. A little bit of a better result. They got 42nd last year.
Yeah, the unfortunate run for them this year. They had, Sin and Uechan play very well this year, but the rest of the team just not quite strong enough scores. I don't think Sin played 16 maps and had 9 scores counted and still had the highest average, so really solid performance from that player, but unfortunately, again, not enough in a 4v4 setting to carry them through to qualifying.
Okay, we're now moving on to Thailand, who did get a pretty decent upgrade, 45th last year out of 48th, I think. So now they're up 38th. They're moving up a little bit, which I think is a bit surprising considering they lost some pretty key players.
Picked up some decent ones though, so all in all, definitely strengthened this year. Not quite enough for progression, but the upward trajectory is there. Hopefully we'll see them continue that trend on.
7 new players on the team and they actually improved their seeding. That's definitely a successful rebuilding year for the team. So solid performance from a new squad.
This is always good to see. So moving up now to Lithuania. Pretty similar result from last year as well. They got 39th last time.
I think
up a little bit.
Yeah, interesting changes in for players like Pain Singer. Definitely a lesser known name, but still solid overall. And six new players again and improving the seeding from last year. So call it successful and move on.
Yeah, good to see Pain Singer having a go. He's been around a long time, and it's always lovely seeing him have a go at OWC. It's not the first time.
All right, the next 4 teams now barely not making the cut. We've got Peru, Arnold, and the boys not going to be in the OWC this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, Arnold with 871,000 average score across 19 maps played. He really tried. He really tried. It was close, 4 seeds away, but just barely, not quite enough to carry them into qualifying.
That is such an insanely high performance, by the way, just to have a reference point. I think Arnold, with that stat, is the 26th best player, I think, in the whole qualifier stage, and his team doesn't make the cut, right? So it's a bit unfortunate.
Oh, it's an improvement, though, from last year, so you've got to give him props. Getting closer, just not quite enough this year, unfortunately.
Up next, at 35th, we've got Italy. And again, speaking of rebuilds, I think we had a little bit of a lower expectation for this team. They still didn't qualify, But I mean, so many new players and losing all of their key players. I think like 7 new people on this team, right? So
yeah, it was a massive rebuilding job. Like so many key players not playing this year compared to last year. So so many of these new players giving it a good go, and they got really close. But sadly, it's gonna be one of those years where we don't see Italy in the brackets. But you have to give them props for giving it a good go, despite having to start from almost scratch. Ryuzaki was the only player returning from last year.
okay, up next we've got Denmark at 34. Again, barely not making the cut. That's 2 years in a row that they got 38th last year. Eimville certainly tried though.
Yeah, he again is the only member who
was Nomad won, by the way,
last year, and yeah, Nomad won. They were number 5 as a team, which is pretty solid. But again, Eimville, the only player from last year, played 20 out of 20 maps for the team. All 7 other players on the team completely new additions or returning members for this year. So really solid performance from Denmark. Again, improved their seeding from last year despite rebuilding 7 new members. So overall, very solid.
Yeah, a few good players as well that have made a name for themselves this year. Katberg has been very impressive, Van Darby as well. It's not quite enough, even with that insane No Mod 1 score, getting 5th overall. Unfortunately, the rest of the scores just didn't match up. So close, though.
All right, the most unfortunate position for New Zealand, who gets our 33rd seed this year, so just barely not making it, man.
You gotta feel for him a little bit. I mean, you had Zoomer playing 19 maps and getting an average score of 625k, so overall a pretty solid performance. And they're only a 7-man roster. I think that's a really, really strong performance for a team that doesn't even have a full roster, almost ends up qualifying, just barely not able to get through. You've got a lot of players on this team who are generally very good players, but it's just not quite enough. The overall performance in Nomad and Hidden in particular, holding them back a little bit from qualifying.
Oh god, it's always tragic. The seed 33, so close yet so far, but it's something to build off of. I mean, we didn't see a team from New Zealand in the last World Cup. It's great to see them back, and hopefully that becomes a fixture once again, because they have had some good squads over the years in the Oz World Cup. Not going to be this year, though, lads.
So that's all the teams that unfortunately did not qualify this year. Best of luck next year, guys. It's always nice to see you play, regardless if you get to the bracket stage or not. I'd like to address something that's been in chat for a little bit. We did have 51 teams eventually, but unfortunately Kazakhstan failed to submit a lobby and did not really have a presence, so unfortunately they did not get to play. So no, they did not qualify, unfortunately. A country who did qualify, though, our first entrant into the bracket stage, Uruguay.
Oh man, you know what? I feel like Uruguay have been a country that in the qualifiers the last few years have been so close and yet so far, but they've made it in 32nd place. And many names here finally get their chance in the bracket stage. The likes of Darnit, Rabo, players like that, they're waiting for their chance.
Yeah, Rabo in particular, 17 maps played, submitted 9 scores out of 9 on the maps that were counted, and averaged 650k out of those scores, which that's a very solid performance from any player to have. And the rest of the team was honestly all really not that far behind. 6 out of 8 players with average scores above 500k for this roster. So really overall solid performance, a good team performance in a team setting, which is what you want to see, especially going into early stages against the eventual number 1 seed, right?
All right, up next, also a new team that did not get to make it last year. It's going to change this year. Welcome Spain to the bracket stage. Got 35th last year. Now they made it.
Yeah, this is an interesting placement for Spain. They've got some very strong scores on, ironically enough, the AIM maps and then the tech maps. They've got really good Nomad 1 and Hard Rock 1 scores, and they've got really good Nomad 4, and you can kind of call Hard Rock 2 a little bit of a control-focused map as well. So really good scores on those maps.
Yeah, they're definitely solid. Antonio, though, of course, on the Spanish team. He's been making waves the last few months, and once again, doing it, in this one, 20 out of 20 maps played, averaging 700k, very nicely done from Antonio. they'll be hoping for big things from him.
All right, up next for the Seed 30, a repeat performance again. They got Seed 30 last year. It's Austria one more time. It's Goose Fedora and the boys.
The classic Austria. You always see them. They're always managing to make their way in. You see lots of new names come in and out for the Austrian team, but they always manage to get in and give us a few good games in the OWC. Goose Fedora has been around for so long now. Tomodoy as well. Sparksay. A lot of old names at this point, and an overall solid performance across the board, especially on Hidden and DT1 as well.
Yeah, they had a few players on this roster as well who played a lot of maps and still had average scores. In fact, their 4 highest average scores from Goose Fedora, Tomodoy, Farmist, and Nuharo, those are also the players who played the most maps for this team. So their solid core is very, very strong. There might be some maps where, one of those core members has to sub out for another member who might not be quite as comfortable, but very, very solid core for this team. So you can expect some solid scores in the early rounds.
All right, up next, we've got Argentina. A little bit of a slightly worse performance in terms of seeding. They did get 23rd last year, but still just as good.
Yeah, this is a interesting performance from the Argentinian team. They have very good speed players, especially. You look at DT1, DT2, Nomad 2 from this team, all of the sort of tapping-based maps in the pool, and they had very, very solid performances on all of them. Not bad performances on Nomad 1 and Nomad 4 as well, so look into those types of maps to give them a way in for some upset points.
Slowburn and Zeta especially did pretty well in the qualifiers, especially around the DT maps. They put in a lot of work for the team in this round, and if they're going to build a nice squad around those speed maps, definitely going to be a strong base when the actual map pools start coming out.
All right, up next, it's Mexico, almost with a repeat performance from 27th to 28. I think largely due to Riot this year, who kind of popped off.
Yeah, Riot has been doing bits as well. Had an excellent one this time around, and looking at the scores, actually a really nice spread of good scores across the entire pool. Number 2 and 3 there, getting top 20 on that DT1 as well. Really solid across the board.
Yeah, and in addition, you definitely do get the pop-off performance from Riot, 730k average score across 17 maps played for him. But you've got some other really, really good members on this team. Saint SFT, Halipers, and Wolfie all putting in really solid performances, very high average scores from them. And one thing to note is that Hebel didn't even play qualifiers. He didn't have time to practice during the week. So this is a 7-man roster without Hebel, who I think a lot of people would place as one of the best players on this team as well. So definitely a team to look out for in round of 32, losers bracket round 1, to try and pull off some upsets when they do have that full 8-man squad.
That's a good secret weapon to have for sure, actually. Now you mentioned that.
All right, another new entrant in the OS World Cup. We've got the Czech Republic, who finished 37th last year, and now they're in at 27th. What's up with that? Look at that Nomad 2, by the way. What is that? That is not a 27th seed score, guys.
Nomad 2 DT1, man. These tapping players, these speed players, Avenito in particular, very, very solid for this team. So, building around some of the mainstays from last year, I think it worked out very well for them with these new additions.
Yeah, it already helps out, I say, a decent core. I mean, they've always had a decent core of players, Czech Republic. Pogus CZ's been around a long time, so has Nitrom. Yeah, as you mentioned, Avenito having a really high average, averaging 800k across the maps he played, including that Nomad 2 and some of those DT maps. A big reason why those scores, the Czech Republic did so high on them.
All right, so let's move on now. Seed number 26, we've got Malaysia.
Oh, you know what? Malaysia last year actually had some very good matches, some very entertaining matches. I recall they had a good upset against Norway last year.
Yeah.
They're back again. The stronger seed and definitely a stronger squad. With many of these players doing very well in community tournaments recently. And look at some of these individual scores. And number 3 getting rank 14 on that. And the low AR hidden as well, rank 17 on that. Some handy control in the ranks here.
Yeah, these were pretty solid additions for the Malaysian squad. Shimon in particular as a new player, 645k average on 11 maps played. That's a very good average for that player. So sort of looking to some of the older mainstays, Rampax and Wuhua in particular, to continue their good performances. 9 maps played and 750k average for Rampax, for example. Wuhua not far behind, 700k average. So those are definitely the two members that they're going to build the rest of the rosters around, and overall solid performance. No super standout maps, but nothing really dragging them down either.
I think this team will be watching out for those VTuber maps that might be coming. They're well prepared.
All right, up next we've got Singapore. Again, pretty similar performance. They seeded at 22nd, I believe, last time.
I think this is one of those teams that a lot of people look out for every year, because a lot of these players are generally very solid in community tournaments, and you sort of see them throughout. Plus the new addition, or I guess returning addition, of Amelia and Seal this year definitely put them on a bit more people's radar. Tebi has been improving a lot in community tournaments. GS Blank in particular is very, very good as of recent in 2021 in community tournaments alongside our Tizen. So kind of interested to see how they do in the bracket stage, especially when their MVP in qualifiers was actually somebody else.
Yeah, Lost Light actually making waves this time around in a team of very accomplished players. So that bodes well for some of the backup players as well. A good solid squad here, and I think a lot of these players could definitely put in MVP performances when needed.
That's always such a scary thing to go against when you think of all the names, and then the guy popping off is someone that you're not even thinking about. It's crazy. All right, up next now we've got Ukraine with a slight upgrade to their seeding as well. I like seeing them so high though.
Yeah, Ukraine are always a fan favorite. I mean, do we have to mention the Ukraine against South Korea match last year again? Well, are people sick of that yet? Because it was insane, by the way. And this time they're even better. You have an even better squad this time around. And a lot of those names return. A lot of that core return. A couple of swaps. Look at that DT1 score, rank 6 on that, over 4 million points.
Yeah, this is a roster that I think a lot of people are even familiar with from 4v4 community tournaments. I remember playing against this roster in GAF earlier this year, GAF Season 7, maybe last fall, I think. But this is a roster that has been teaming together in community tournaments, building that team synergy all throughout. And it really shows, because the average scores for almost all of their members were above 500k. 4 out of 8 members with average scores above 600k as well. So their core roster is very, very strong for this team. They're going to have relatively consistent scores across each round through all of their players, which is really valuable to have when you're in that 4v4 setting, and just a little bit more score on one other player really can make that difference in close matchups.
All right, up next we've got Finland. And I think also Finland, pretty significant roster change. But again, we keep talking about those core of players, and this is it, man. They've got a solid core on this team.
Yeah, these are changes on this roster that I think a lot of people were concerned about. Freeze gone, Jarkek gone, Samoyed, Shdu's gone, Wuki gone as well. But these 5 new players, Ataraxia, Savilju, Zipe, Apacito, and Amacetic, if you play rank-restricted tournaments, or if you've been following Osutruskill for the past year, you might know some of these players, and you might know just exactly how good they are. Every single one of them had 500k or 600k average score on this team. It's actually crazy just how consistent the whole roster is. And they've got players who definitely prefer some maps. No one player besides Ataraxia really in on the vast majority of maps. Ataraxia and Bullocks playing 9 and 8 maps out of the ones that were submitted. But generally, man, it's just such a solid roster overall.
It really is. I mean, people are going to sleep on this Finland team, but this is a good squad, man.
Like to point out also, congratulations to Ataraxia for getting the top score on the low AR hidden. That's not a name you would probably expect, I think. Very fresh newcomer and top score on low AR hidden. So that's very exciting to see. Moving on next, we've got the Netherlands, also with a pretty similar result from last year, even though a couple of pretty key roster changes, but it looks like they've still got it.
Yeah, it's great to see Netherlands putting in a good showing here again. They are missing a few key players. No Taku this year, no Amnesia. but the backup they've got have definitely helped fill the gap. Got Kushper, Cosmic Wolf on board, Upep as well, very nice mechanics player. Going to be doing well here, or Luciano is being named now. A good mechanics core here as well, with the likes of Scaravania, Vivlium, Luciano / Upep. I think a pretty decent 4-man squad here for a lot of the mechanics picks.
Yeah, they definitely do, and it very much shows Nomad 1, Hard Rock 1, some of their best scores. Nomad 2 also really solid, but even then, some of the more sort of tricky maps, like Hidden 1, Nomad 4, Hard Rock 2, are all pretty solid scores for this roster as well. So in addition to those mechanics players, you have some people like Jackie Lamb, for instance, who are very good at some of those more gimmicky picks that can, pull off an upset score here and there.
The legendary Jackie Ack. You love to see it. Except in tournaments where he actually has really good Ack. He always says he can't do it, but he just does it. He's a good player, Jackie.
All right, I've seen a lot of excitement in chat for this one. Turkey at seed 21. I think largely off the back of Raikoho, who had such a monstrous performance, getting, I think, 13th overall in like the individual player performance. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, Raikoho is the main reason that this team qualified so high. Out of his personal best scores on the 13 maps that he played, he had a 950k average score, which is, that's like nearly full comboing every single map. Even if you only count the maps that were actually taken towards his team score, his average is still 865,000 with nearly 99% AC. And he played 13 maps. So this is an extremely strong player. If you've been watching open rank tournaments and open rank 1v1s, you've likely seen him around. This is the fruits of that labor right here, is this kind of qualification seed for Turkey after being 32nd out of qualifiers last year.
I wanna expand on that actually. So we briefly talked about their Raikoho scoring so well, but if you take all of the players' personal best scores, so like no matter if the score counted, like all your combined personal best score, Raikoho is the best player in the qualifiers. A 946k average over 13 maps. That is above everybody else. Imagine that.
He's good, man. But it's not just about Raikoho as well. Some other players in this team had a good performance. Jilrain there actually had a really nice overall performance on the maps he played, as well as. And Heyroni, I think definitely Heyroni's going to be a powerful addition to this team as well in later rounds. They've got a good squad, Turkey, and they've definitely improved year on year. This year's no exception, man.
All right, good to move on now. Let's take a look at China. Got seed number 20 after, I think, missing some very important players, but I think they at least are still there, more or less. But I think missing Crystal and GGBY, My Angel Miku, I think that's such a big loss. But it looks like it doesn't even matter. Look at that low AR hidden, that Nomad 1. It's pretty good.
Rank 5 on the low AR hidden. They got good taste in maps, China, for sure. Yeah, even though they are missing a lot of their key players, there's no GGBY and there's no Crystal. And let's not beat around the bush. Them missing out on Crystal is a massive loss, but their core is still very strong, and this is a solid seeding. Genshin Phobia, formerly known as Gynophobia, formerly known as David Q2, solid player in community tournaments. I'm a Burger Fox has put a shift in. Extreme, Ematexi, and a veteran of the tournament scene for many years now. Still got a very decent squad, even if they are missing a couple of the players they're most known for. Still a scary team, this.
Yeah, and I just want to expand on the sort of main squad. Lolo233, aka Milk Tea, Genshin Phobia, I'm a Burger Fox, and QQ had at least 15 maps played for every single player there. So those four are absolutely the core roster. Genshin Phobia right at the center of the team with all 20 maps played during the qualifiers run. It still had a 640k average out of all the maps that were chosen, and 700k counting the best maps, by the way. But the best average on the team is actually a new player, Strife. This guy's Hard Rock scores are really something else. I think he's going to be a very solid addition on some of the more niche maps, and even then the core roster can very clearly put up incredible scores on some of the very different sorts of maps compared to what their niche players are good at.
All right, up next at seed number 19, we've got Norway. Again, a pretty repeated performance. I think they got 17th seed last year, but yeah, pretty solid across the board. And look at those Nomads. Honestly, Nomad 3, Nomad 4, excellent job. I think it's worth noting, though. I think the biggest upgrade for this team this year is that their core of players, like all of their players, have seemed to stepped up their level a lot. Like there isn't really a big carry in this.
Yeah, they definitely had a lot of people step up their performance overall. You had very high average scores for basically all of the players, as well as 2 new additions that I think are pretty solid for the team. We've seen Nineric pop off a lot in recent open rank tournaments, Penguinzy as well, having really solid performances around the year in 2021 community tournaments. So definitely a team to watch out for overall. And you can see the fruits of some of their labor here. Number 5, number 6 on Nomad 3 and 4, number 17 on both double times actually, and the overall hidden performance that is incredibly solid for this team.
In Norway, they're always stereotypically the hidden team because they have such good hidden players. But honestly, I feel like their strength is more in mechanics these days, with the likes of Fiel, Melva, Marcus, Nineric, and of course GN and Yokes Pie can fill in where necessary. They have the tools for the job. Really good mechanics backbone in this team, as well as that explosive reading power in Yokes and GN. Yokes had a very good qualifier, actually. Very good qualifier performance.
Yeah, Yokes actually at the 20th position for average score personally, so very well done. Moving on now to Taiwan, who we were honestly a little bit worried about after losing the majority of their core roster, like Flask, GFMRT, Zane Riser not here, but it looks like that doesn't even matter. They still got the people to replace them, and rank 3 on tech, I guess.
Yep, tech team right here in Taiwan. I mean, they still have the players to make that happen. Of course, Shield returns, Sheen and Nariko returns, Dazzlewind, Spines Knight, some of the core of, the previous very strong Taiwanese rosters. Yeah, they are missing a few of that motley crew in likes of Flask, GFMRT, Zane, Riser. But you know what they got in return? The legend himself is back, Mr. Rucker. You love to see it.
You definitely love to see Rucker back for this year's OWC. Absolutely a legendary player. I mean, he's been playing the game since, for how long now? At least over 10 years for sure. I mean, this guy is an absolute mainstay of the game itself, and seeing him back in is really, really cool. This is another team where you've got really, really consistent qualifier performances across the entire squad. If you're just looking at the average of their best scores for each player on each map that they played, 7 out of 8 players had an average score above 600k for this squad. So this is a very consistent team performance overall. And even if you're just looking at average score from the maps that were taken for their qualifying runs, those 7 out of 8 players still have an average between 750k and 540k. So this is a whole squad that really put in the effort, and there's maybe 2 players that you could shout out as having really insane performances, which are Shield and Shinonoriko, which shouldn't surprise a lot of people if you've been watching open rank tournaments this year.
Sure, the seed's a little bit lower than it was last year, just a few rounds down, but this is still a very scary Taiwanese roster, especially early game.
All right, a bit of a newcomer to this placement range. Here is the Philippines. Big upgrade, I think, very largely off the back of a single player that had a pretty crazy performance.
Yeah, this is a roster that I think a lot of people looked to and said, man, these are some really good upgrades this year. But even some of the mainstays from last year are still just putting in massive work, particularly Hyuk. He played 19 out of 20 maps, had 10 out of 10 scores counted, and regardless of which way you look at his average, he had an 880,000 average score across all of the maps that he played, which is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, his average is 200,000 points higher than the next best player on his team in My Angel Fubuki. This is a player who will absolutely be the carry on basically every single map for this team, because that's how it was during the qualifiers. Especially early rounds when you do get 17 versus 14 as a matchup, for example. You're really going to be looking to that player to put in the solid performance needed.
Yeah, they are going to need it, of course, but with that performance, that is a very confidence inspiring performance from Hyuk. I think as a team, though, this is a strong team. I mean, rank-wise, you can see they're very highly ranked. Doesn't mean too much, but there are some powerful tournament players in here, and I think we could definitely see, more of a skill ceiling, actually. out of this team once they really gel and make it happen in the OWC. Some good team scores as well. Look at that, Hidden 1. That Hard Rock 2, the Precision Hard Rock, man, 3.5 million almost on that is very solid. Nice mixture of highly scoring maps there.
All right, up next, it is Brazil at Seed 16. Lots of changes again this year, I think. Not too many roster changes, but lost a couple of their key players, and I think Carrito, one of the newcomers, getting MVP, only played 6 maps out of 20, but still getting an 877k average, which is excellent.
I mean, even despite some of the changes, Brazil are still Brazil, and they've still got some very scary players. Of course, Mouse Easy, he may be tablet easy now, but he's still a very solid player. And with the likes of, Korean Maluko in there, Mistia returning, X-Louise, Sanjulift, it's a strong core, but you have some new players like Defons who have been making waves this year. X-Kirito as well, only just making the rank range. Actually, I think he must have dropped down after he signed up, but on the very edges of qualifying, but he makes it here.
Yeah, one thing to note about X-Kirito is that he was actually ranked 2000 like 4 months ago or so. He actually dropped rank for some community tournaments, and so he has a much higher skill cap than you would actually initially think from this player based on his solo rank. He was a carry for Brazil in their rank 5000 World Cup earlier this year in that team, and he's definitely showing that on these early stage pools. This qualifiers pool is only a 6.5 star pool, really, and he's putting in the performance, man, on this pool. So despite missing mainstays from the roster like Nissan and Tusk from last year, Dada as well gone, these new additions in Defons, Tones, and X-Kirito absolutely turning it on and making sure that the team does well.
Rank 2 on tech. That Camellia score, whew.
Yeah. I would say the next 8 teams or so, it's been pretty close. It's actually been very, very close in terms of the seeding order on them. So we're gonna get into the mishmash of the top 8 now, the rush to get the top 8. Unfortunately, Romania at 15. Well, it's not really unfortunate, honestly. I think it's still a very good result. And I think Romania somehow ends up always in the seed range where they're always just kind of like terrorizing the higher seeds, because after all of the things that Romania has done in OWC, you never really would face them. It's you never know what they pull out,
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing this team in this seeding, because I think it's very clear where their weaknesses and strengths lie. Badu number 2 on the low approach rate hidden map, only second to Ataraxia, who we discussed earlier. But this is a really solid team overall. Nanoya number 3 on Nomad 2 as well, so they had some really solid single scores from these players. But Eternum and Badu are basically the two-man carry squad for this team. Badu going in for 14 maps, getting an 881k average, and Eternum going in for 18 and getting an 854k average. So those are the two players that the rest of the roster for each map is built around. Definitely two very different players, however, in terms of how they play. Eternum, a very, very solid speed stamina player, and Badu definitely not that. So the roster is, sort of based around the dichotomy between how good they are at these two very different skill sets.
Honestly, looking at these scores, though... Oh, sorry to cut you off. I just want to mention, looking at the seeding, it looks like the DT scores may have not been what they hoped. Because look at all the rest of their scores. Look at those no-mod and hidden scores. And even the Hard Rock scores. It seems as though, the Hard Rock 2, those last 2 DTs, not quite up there, man. Some very good
potential for
scores,
both. A lot of potential for more there, but I think just looking at Eternum and Badu again, if you rate the player performance, I think Eternum comes at 19 and Badu comes at 21 out of 400 players. So really, really top tier stuff. Again, really scary, I think, once the pool gets harder as well. Up next, we have got Australia, Rip Pick'ems, at rank 14. One very important key distinction. Actually, so something that's extremely important. Emmerich did not play the qualifiers, and yet they still are the number 1 DT team. What is that?
Imagine not having the best, or arguably the best DT player in the world until still top scoring on DT. That's actually kind of crazy, but when you look at the roster, it's not really a surprise, is it? You know, Jordan LR7, Dummy, Suffix in there, Milo Milkshake. That is a terrifying double time team, and that's not even including Mr. Eck. It's something else, man.
Yeah, the overall team really did very solidly for this squad. Not having Emrek obviously hurts, especially on a lot of the rest of the pool outside DT, because I think this squad is really built to just speed abuse a lot of teams in this tournament. But they've got very, very solid scores on, for example, the Hard Rocks, on the sort of mechanics maps as well. Hidden 1, Nomad 1, they have very, very good scores, which is not all that surprising with players like J2B and Machine on the team as well. So really solid stuff from this team overall, despite missing their best player during the qualifier round.
No doubt, though. I mean, once Emrek returns to the squad, though, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure. I don't think anyone needs telling. This is a good team.
All right, up next, it is Russia. Ooh, lots of changes in this one again. I think a lot of people were pretty excited to see the new players, but also a little bit sad to see players like Elementary and Gasha not play, but doesn't seem to matter too much. They've still got it, doing very well.
This was a big team-wide performance for the squad overall, and if you look at the individual names on this team, I don't think they really have a single player who is definitively their strongest player. You can make the argument that, you know, whoever goes in for the most maps and does the best in qualifiers is their strongest player, but really they've got such a small range on their average scores between, you know, 630 and 850k among their top 7 that it's hard to even make that distinction anymore. This is a team where everybody pulls their weight, everybody contributes, and they're all kind of good at the same sorts of things in general. They've got really solid scores on a lot of the more tapping focused maps. They're also very, very strong on Hard Rock, the 5th best team on Hard Rock overall during this run. So really scary team. I think everybody knows Russia as the team that sort of demolishes early stage. So I think a lot of the middle seeded teams are going to be very scared to go up against this roster when they do have such a consistent team performance.
It's a good ability to have that. You know, if you have 5-6 year players be in contention for a map, it allows, you know, your top 4 to be very comfortable on that map. You know, having a versatile roster like that's powerful, especially in the early game, and hopefully they can make use of it in the late game, because they do tend, when they get to like the very, very late stage, they may fall off a little bit. But with all these new players, we'll see if that changes. It's a very good squad, this. Nice score from Mr. Future on the Hard Rock 1, getting ranked 5 on that as well.
All right, and up next, it's Hong Kong. It's seed number 12. It's A21 in the boys.
The FC Machine, A21 himself. But, you know, with the rest of that squad, that's a decent squad. And, you know, maybe a few years back, they were known as the team that had very low-ranking players but demolished higher-seeded teams. But now they have a higher-ranking squad, you know, with the likes of MCY4, another beast who's been doing well this year. Shiraha Yuki as well has had an excellent year in community tournaments. Dragbit 3 as well has been contributing very well. And also, RLSC is a really cool addition. I feel like RLSC is the sort of guy, you see him on like every like hard no-mod map that has like a no-mod only top 50. You always see RLSC near the top on like almost every ranked map like that.
Yeah, he's just a crazy, almost like gimmicky consistency player. It's hard to describe exactly what he's good at, but definitely has his niche, pulled off some good scores in the qualifiers. But interestingly enough, those top 4 ranked players on the team, Shiraha Yuki, MCY4, Dragbit 3, and A21, were actually the top 4 average scoring players for this team. And they also all played at least 14 maps during the qualifiers. So that 4-man core for this team is just incredibly strong. A21 obviously is the player to look out for. Number 15 overall out of over 400 players who played in the qualifiers, and an 860k average score no matter which way you look at it. So this is a player who has an incredibly strong, consistent base of other high-ranking players to back up that sort of carry performance, and that makes them a very scary roster to go up against.
Those Hard Rock scores, man. Ooh, look at them. Both of those. Really, really solid.
Even the Nomad scores as well. I mean, single digit on Nomad 1 and Nomad 4, number 11 on Nomad 3, and number 10 in Nomad overall. That is a crazy performance.
Yeah, it's worth noting again, A21 placing 15th in the player leaderboard, so excellent job. I think we were all looking forward to see what they could do in OWC, and yeah, it looks very promising. Up next, seed number 11, it is Sweden, just quietly getting better and better every year somehow.
Yeah, this team had some very good scores this year. They had Scylla actually just sort of pop off on a bunch of different maps. Number 3 on Nomad 3 and number 4 on Hidden 1, even though the rest of the team wasn't there to back up that Hidden 1 performance. You can't discount early stage having that carry performance and being able to just mess up some of the lower seeded teams. But Scylla and Reedcat in particular had some really strong performances. Reedcat played all 20 maps and had an 820,000 score average, which is a very, very solid performance. Scylla as well with those standout pop-offs, 850k average on 8 maps.
Not too surprised to see Reedcat once again being just such an important piece of the puzzle for his team. But yeah, this is a team that I feel has so much potential. I was super excited about them last year, and I'm excited about them again this year because they have once again improved once more. That is a very strong seed in such a competitive OWC. Very nicely done from those guys.
Yeah, worth pointing out, number 2 overall on Hard Rock for this team. Number 2 on Hard Rock 1, number 8 on Hard Rock 2, and number 2 overall. Number 12 on both Nomad and Double Time as well. So really, you're just looking at Hidden as the place where this team needs to find, you know, somebody to fill in a little bit. But the rest of the map pool, they're going to be very solid on no matter which way you pick it.
I can't believe Reedcat is rank 0. How does he do it?
We're getting into a little bit of the danger zone here. Lots of contentious teams for the top 8, but we've got France at the top 10. I believe this is the first time in a while no, actually, that's not true. They were 7th last year. I remember France destroyed so many pick'ems from getting 7th in qualifiers. They get 10th this year, though. A couple of roster changes, but I think most notably Ekoro coming in and kind of just making a statement.
Yeah, Ekoro jumping on the standard tournament scene this year has been something else. I mean, we all know him as the easy flashlight player, but this year he's just shown that he's just an everything player. He has been so good this year in tournaments, and he's backing up what is already a very good team. The seed's not quite as high as it is last year, but I think this team, for the most part, is definitely stronger. A lot of those core players, you know, Just Man returning, Thunder returning, the Poon, of course, making a return for this one. They're keeping that super important core and adding to it very nicely, I think.
Yeah, one thing to note is that the average score for Ekoro is a full 100,000 higher than the next best average score on the team coming out of Just Man. I think the 2 players that a lot of people would point to as the traditional core 2 for the team in the Poon and Musty are actually number 4 and 5 in terms of average score, but that's not saying much when their average scores are, you know, 750, 670k out of the 2 players. The Poon still playing 20 out of 20 maps during the qualifiers, and Musty playing 12 out of 20 maps in qualifiers, so this is a team that has quite a lot of people who can go in for a lot of maps. Ekoro and Justman playing 14 and 12 maps out of qualifiers respectively, and just put up some really fantastic scores sort of across the board. I don't think any player on this team is necessarily lacking, especially when you consider that, you know, even the lowest average scoring player in Nero on this team still is just that niche carry performer where when you count the scores that were actually taken, it's a 726,000 point score that contributes massively to the overall team performance. So really solid stuff coming out of France this year.
Worth noting, Justman getting the top score on Nomad 1 as well. And while I briefly talk about that, also it's worth noting that there was not a single SS in the entirety of the qualifiers this year. A lot of pool difficulty went up a lot, so a lot of these number 1 scores are pretty indicative, like, of really high accuracies, right? But still no SSs at all. I think this is the first time this ever happens.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's definitely usually at least 1 or 2. Like, even if it is comes down to something like, say, the low AR hidden from someone who can just play it so competently. But yeah, I suppose it's just a testament to how tricky the qualifier pool is this year, even this week. Yeah.
All right, just outside of the top 8 at seed number 9, it is South Korea. And yeah, Flying Tuna did very well. I think everyone is expecting that, but I think a lot of other solid performances from other people on the team. And I mean, look at those HD and HR averages, right? Like top score on Hard Rock 2, excellent job.
Yeah, that top score on Hard Rock 2 coming off the back of Doomsday Fanboys number 2 on Hard Rock 2. Doing you proud, Dooms? All the Hard Rock picks there?
He's doing me proud. My boy, he's so good. I'm so happy to see him make the team this year, actually. Really cool Mavs player.
He's a new addition to the team, also alongside Rank AJ and Mayas. But yeah, Karuna Flying Tuna as the sort of mainstay carry duo for this team, definitely showing they've still got it this year. Flying Tuna, of course, very, very solid performances around community tournaments all throughout the year. Karuna, not so much. Hasn't been around community tournaments, but very clearly, 17 maps played, 9 of 9 scores taken for the team's overall performance, and still averaging 750, 760k across all of those maps. So still very clearly has got that really solid performance in this qualifier stage alongside Flying Tuna. And when you get to this point with these types of seeded teams, all of the average scores are going to be really solid. Basically every member on this team contributed massively, whether they were a mainstay on the core 4 or whether they were just in for some particular maps here and there. They all did very, very well.
Yeah, so much power throughout this entire squad and every single one of these players. This squad is super strong, no matter what gets thrown at it. I mean, looking at the scores, maybe they got a slightly lower score on the No Mod 3, No Mod 4, a little bit on the No Mod 2 as well. But honestly, I think in match, this team can definitely do a lot better on that No Mod 3, No Mod 4 style. This is a scary squad, man. This is a scary 4-man squad.
And it's even scarier when you notice that Carter didn't even play the qualifiers this year. He wasn't even there for their quals. They've got this score with 7 players. They were number 9 this year with 7 players. So no Karcher, they're still almost top 8. This is a very scary roster.
That is so hard to do. At this level, you need all 8 of your players in almost every single country to do anything, right? So props to them. We're going to move on now. Our first entrant into the top 8, it is Bubbleman and the boys. Let's just talk about this for a second. I know there's a full team here, but before we even talk about anything, let's just take a look at Bubbleman's accomplishments in the qualifiers. Bubbleman's obtained number 1 on No Mod 2. He's got number 3 on Hidden 1, number 5 on Hidden 2, number 2 on Hard Rock 1, the best score on DT1, and number 3 on DT2. That is such an absurd amount of MVPs that nothing is ever come close to this. No one's even come close to this level of dominance from a single player. That is such a crazy performance.
Before you ask me how does he do it, I have no answer. He's just Bubbleman.
He's Bubbleman. That's the answer.
That's exactly it. I mean, this UK squad this year, very, very strong. And I mean, it's a very good seeding as well. I mean, not only did Bubbleman absolutely just destroy the qualifiers in his own performance, but there were some really good performances from some of the other squad as well. Kingling got rank 1 on which map? Of course, it was a small circle size map. That's what he does. Rank 1 on Ophelia. But on top of that as well, just some really strong scores across the team as well. Majora, who has been on an absolute tear in terms of his own improvement. His skill ceiling is rather large at this point, Majora. And he had a good run on the maps he played this time as well, really contributing to the qualifiers. Also, shout-outs to some of the new players joining. Gemsy, playing his first OWC, very, very strong aim player, but also very capable hidden player, including low approach rate. So, a good low approach rate little wildcard there in Gemsy.
Yeah, it's a little odd to see this team. On DT1, they had the top 3 players in Bubbleman, Malteser, and Majora. And then they had a very, very solid DT2 score, number 5 overall DT team. But they've also just got a really incredible hidden reading roster, number 7 on both Hidden 1 and Hidden 2. So this is a team that is definitely versatile, that can score really highly on a wide variety of maps. You have to be that good in order to place this highly. But like Gazer talked about, I mean, the single one-man performance from Bubbleman is possibly the single best qualifier performance we've seen. Like
It just
top
is.
top 5 on 6 out of 10 maps. Top 5 on 6 out of 10 maps on the majority of maps in the pool is just absolutely crazy. Kingling as well played 15 maps and averaged 712k, so it's a very solid core roster and a very solid speed core as well. So I expect this team to still make a deep run this year. They've clearly got the skill cap for it. I'm excited.
All right, we were doubting them a little bit potentially, but at seed number 7, it is Japan, losing 2 of their really important players, but doesn't look like it matters. Still placing 7. I think it's a very, very high seeding. They placed 11th last year, and I think it's worth talking about how good Varvalian is too.
Yeah, number 2 on Nomad 2 for Varvalian, number 1 on Hard Rock 1 for him as well. You look at the overall team performance for this squad, and it is, 16 maps played for Varvalian, 850k average on his personal best scores, 790k average out of the maps that were actually taken towards the team performance. So this is a really, really high overall performance for him. But even then, there were actually 2 players who are in on a few less maps who actually did better. Rollpan in on 9 maps. 5 out of 5 scores counted for the team and an 850k average. He had a really strong performance, and I don't think that's surprising if you look toward community tournaments this year. He has been popping off recently, even in duo tournaments where you need to be in on every map, so he's got that versatility, and he definitely showed it off here and on half the maps and had a very solid performance. But I mean, the rest of the team as well, basically everybody above a 600k average for this team. Actually, literally everybody above a 600k average score for this team. So this is where we get into the territory of every single member of the team just being that good and contributing that well to the performance. You really do have to watch out for some of these particular players to just pop off.
You know what, though, actually, an interesting little stat about this team is they have, I believe, not 1, but 2 Click X players or Tap X players in Haga. And I believe Autolean is also Tap X or Click X.
Really?
So, yeah.
Ooh. It's a team to watch. That's such a wonderful play style. I don't know how they do it. All right. That's Japan at seed number 7. Let's look at Poland at seed number 6. What? They still got it. I think mostly just due to one player who goes by many names, many name changes. It used to be Chomic Box until last year. Now it's whatever this is. I'm not going to give it a shot.
I actually got clarification on the pronunciation from one of my Polish friends.
Oh, please, go ahead.
It is Maliszewski is the pronunciation for it. And yeah, he had a 914,000 average score across 20 out of 20 maps played. What? He's number 5 overall by average score with 20 maps played? Everyone above him played less than 10 maps. That's how good that is. This is the single best performance, I think, throughout all of the qualifiers this year, because 20 out of 20 maps played and 915k average score is just crazy, man.
God, he's so good. He's been ripping up the community scene recently. Some of the biggest team tournaments, he has been doing bits, taking out some very big players as well. And I'm glad to see that he's keeping that momentum up into OWC. And man, you add that player to this already explosive wild card of a team in Poland. Sometimes you get them just bulldozing everyone in front of them, and other times it doesn't happen, but that's a strong trump card to have in a team like this for sure.
Yeah, we also, we want to shout out the really strong performance from Maliszewski, aka Chomic Box, but also some of these other players on this team are just that good that you get a really ridiculous overall performance. The number 2 average scorer on their team in Mustache actually played 18 maps also and had a 750k average. So these are players who are in on the majority of maps and still getting really high average score. That type of versatility on a core 4 where you have Mark, Marucha, and Rafis also in for 11 or 12 and 11 maps respectively and still getting above 700k average. I mean, those are scary players. Notably, they did this without Wubblewolf. This is a team that gets seed number 6 without Wolf playing at all. Wait. So being able to add him in on some of the maps that come out later on in these map pools is a very valuable tool. Why do we have, by the way, multiple teams in the top 10 who played with 7 players during qualifier, by the way?
Yeah,
That's
what
scary.
is this?
That's really scary.
Exactly. I was going to mention as well, they got rank 2 on the low approach rate hidden, and Wolf wasn't even playing. What?
Also no Bartek, by the way. Also no
Bartek.
Bartek this year because he's doing the map pools instead. So
They're missing 2 beastly hidden players. And they still did that. That's an insane hidden roster, even without those 2. Crazy.
All right. Well, there's only 5 teams remaining, and here's a bit of a newcomer. I would say this is a little bit of a plot twist, but I mean, we've kind of seen this one coming. We hyped this team up a lot. Last year placing at 20th seed, but big upgrades, and there you go. They pay off. 2 number 1 scores from Indonesia, and Lifeline being right behind Melishewski or Chomik Box, I guess, clocking it at 905k average over 16 maps. But if you look at like the individual scores on this team, there are just so many players at the top of the leaderboards. You've got Lifeline at number 6. You've got Krez at 17. It's just honestly fully expecting this team to do really well, and here they are. We've got Skydiver at 40 as well, and yeah, I mean, you can probably talk a lot about this team, right? It's a little bit of a new team that we haven't seen too much yet, but I think we'll see a lot of this year.
Absolutely. I think, to be honest with you, people that have been following a lot of these players won't be too surprised at this seeding, but even then, seed 5 is very, very high. But the performances warrant it. Lifeline has absolutely been on excellent form last 6 months. Krez, absolute beast. And Skydiver as well, even though maybe he hasn't been too active this year, still shows he can hang there, even with those crazy players that Indonesia have now. And Ro as well. And I feel like not enough people talk about how important Ro is to this team, especially for the gimmick maps.
yeah, and I do want to talk a little bit about Ro because this guy is part of that core 4 for this team. If you just look strictly at average score, it's actually Dito who has the highest average, but it's only because he played very few maps on this team. Very solid on those particular maps, but when you're looking at how strong a team is overall, you're looking for players who can go in on a wide variety of maps and still come out with fantastic average scores. Lifeline, Krez, Skydiver, Ro, those 4 players all played at least 12 maps, all had at least 6 scores counted, and all had at least a 750k average across like between 12 and 16 maps. Those are crazy average scores for those 4 players, and if you've been keeping track of open rank tournaments this year, you know Krez, Ro, and Lifeline have been putting in work in basically every single tournament. They have been practicing all year long, and you know, I've said it before, this is the fruits of the labor throughout the past year for this team. So much improvement for so many of these returning players on Indonesia, and the new additions in Krez and Dito definitely paying off for this team. So I am super excited to see how Indonesia does this year, especially with ridiculous performances in every mod besides Hidden. Hidden is the only mod category where they weren't single digit, and even then, they're number 10. Like, this is a fantastic team.
Yeah, that DT1 score, man. 4.6 million. Ooh, man, that's spicy.
All right, well, Dio, you said you're a little bit excited about Indonesia, but I know you're very excited about the next team. Why don't you tell us a little bit about
Have ye
Chile
little
at
faith?
Team 4?
Have ye little faith in Chile, man? I got so much flack for predicting this team top 4 on our prediction stream. Yeah, I was right. This team is that good. They are that good. Intercambing in particular, 900k average across 20 maps. What else do you say besides this guy is the carry to look out for on this team? And even then, I think a lot of people, myself included, were looking at Matthew to really pop off. He definitely did. 18 maps played and a 730k, 770k average across those 18 maps that he played. But the versatility of the remaining 6 players is really what allowed them to get this high of a score. Danielle, Montenegro, number 37, all with very high average scores. Gonza as well with a 726,000 average score across the 4 maps that he had counted towards the team's performance. And even then, Zazreed with a 700k at the 7th highest average score is a 700k from him. This is a ridiculously strong roster overall. where they've just got, two very, very strong mainstays in Intercamping and Matthew, and then 6 other players who can just go in on whatever maps needed that plug up all the holes, especially anything on Hard Rock, man. #1 overall team there.
I think this is a really good sign for Chile, not just because, obviously, this is a very impressive performance. Ridiculously impressive. Look at that improvement. 17th then, 4th this time. But I think this team have a really good skill ceiling, If they can get to the late stages, they have Intercamping, and they have Mathy, and they have Danielle. Just looking at the skill ceiling on this team would terrify even the absolute best late game teams. I think it could give pretty much anyone a good game on a finals pool just with their core 3. This is an exciting team, man. I'm really excited to see where this team goes.
But really though, like I genuinely am. You look at like their skill progression over the last like 3 or 4 years, where it was essentially just Mathy and like pretty much nobody, and they were struggling to get out of groups or even pick up a single win. And then Intercamping comes in, and a lot of their other players like number 37 and TFGE start popping off last year, 2 years ago. They slowly get better, and now they're at seed 4. What comes next? Like I'm very excited to see how good Chile can like potentially get the next year even then, right? Because honestly, this is such like an upward trend. This is the biggest like upward trend for a team we've seen in a very long time. So definitely looking forward to that. In our top 3 now, there's only 3 teams remaining.
Who's it gonna be?
Who's it gonna be? I don't know. I mean, I think everybody knew this team was gonna be here, but the actual seeding it was gonna be at wasn't so sure. But Germany, top 3 this year.
The runners-up from last year. What a fantastic final between Germany and you-know-who. But once again, they are back in with an improvement. They got 4th in the qualifiers last year, but they get 3rd this time with a very similar roster, but they have some key changes. There's no Neox or Smarty from that squad, but they've replaced them with some very capable players in Krilla and KHZ. Krilla has been incredible in tournaments this year, and KHZ is one of the premier stamina and stream players recently, very infamous for incredible stamina scores. Great addition to this already well-rounded roster.
I want to touch on that real quick because there's so many big names on this team, but Kriller being one of the new additions, easily I think the MVP in this team. Didn't play all of the maps, but got 930k in 13 maps, which is 2nd place in terms of their personal best, right behind Raikoho. So again, if a team last year, we talked about this like last week a little bit, right? In a little bit of the prediction stuff. If a team like last year can take you-know-who to tiebreaker in grand finals, and they add players like Kriller and KHC, what happens?
Well, they get number 3 out of qualifiers apparently, but this is still a squad that is just incredible. I mean, even like you said, Kriller, 13 maps played, 7 scores counted, and KHZ, the other added member this year, played a single map and just drops 900k. I mean, is a very, very solid player. Just comes in, drops the mic, and leaves for the one map that he's needed for. The rest of the team, though, looking to White Cat, Okinamo, Dust Ice to put in the performance that they always do, and that definitely happened. White Cat playing 19 maps with a 775k average, and Okinamo and Dust Ice playing 13 and 14 maps with over 700k averages themselves. So this is a team where you have a very, very consistent core in those 3 players, including Kriller, and then the rest of the roster is sort of subbing in where needed. So very, very scary roster overall.
That's worth noting. Also, White Cat got the number 1 play on the Nomad alt map, Nomad 3. But yeah, I mean, we didn't even talk about like most of their other like big name players, right? I think they're all kind of mainstays, so everybody knows what to expect. But I think in the interest of time, we can move on to seeds number 2. It's Canada. What? I'm gonna do the same thing I did last year because what?
And deja vu here.
I mean, Canada last year got really good because of a lot of really good speed players, and then lost all of them, and then it turns out they're still really good. So yeah, I mean, lots of big changes. I think the scariest thing about the Canadian team this year is there isn't really one player to look at. Like, everyone pulls in their weight. Like, you could look at Vispirit, who mostly does a lot of the gimmicky things. He doesn't play a lot of maps, but is one of the top scorers of the entire qualifier stages, even though he's only played 4 maps. and he's basically top scored almost all of them. Or Zudi and Nick, who present an excellent core, both getting over 850k averages in like 14 and 16 maps. But like, there's just such a wide distribution of, I guess, credit to this team, right? Like, it's very hard to play against, I think, because they seem like a very, very well balanced team.
Yeah, I mentioned this about Russia as well, where you have such versatile players that for any given map you can have 5 or 6 players who could play it, and then the 4 you put in for that gonna be super comfortable. That's so powerful, and especially you combine that with just have a really good, they have really good chemistry, really good mentality going into games. They have a great setup going into pressure situations like this, and that's probably why they did really well again in the qualifiers.
Yeah, this is a team where even a lot of your new players this year are still very seasoned tournament players throughout the community. Xylus, Curtis, Vesprit, Jeremy, and Muffin Slayer all are really, really experienced tournament players in general. Obviously, I think first OWC for all of those players this year, if I'm remembering correctly, but this is...
Yes, it's new for 5 people, and the other 3 just played their first time last year, so it's a very, very fresh roster.
That's insane, actually.
That is insane. Placing number 2 with that roster is an incredible accomplishment. Really well played from Canada. And I mean, looking at the Nomad and Hard Rock scores on this team makes me very scared for any team that tries to go up against them. You talk about versatility. Well, the Nomad pool is basically 4 completely different styles of maps, and they were top 10 on every single one of them. So that absolutely points to a very wide variety of skill sets on this team. And like you said, the top 4 players all playing very different sorts of maps really speaks to that.
I think most notably those Zudi, Frankie, and Xylus getting pretty high placements on a lot of the Nomad and hidden maps. But just looking through like their mod results too, like you can't really pinpoint what they're good or bad at. Like they have really strong placements and also some weaker ones in like all of the mod pools. So I mean, I think good luck to anyone who plays against them. I think strategy is going to be pretty important. Of course, though, there is one team remaining, so I'd like to congratulate our seed number 1, United States. Again, crazy development. I mean, who could have seen this coming, right? United States just getting better and better, going from seed number 1 to seed number 1.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go on, Dio. You should take this.
It is a little bit of a development, though. You sub out 5 players on this team. Yes, you get back, a completely seasoned tournament veteran in Digital Hypno, who has been there for 2018 and 2019, I believe 2017 as well, so has 3 previous years of OWC experience with this team, and won at least 2018 and 19 as well with them. But subbing out Kablaze, Apraxia, Vaxe is gone on this team, Rectigon is gone as well, BTMC also leaving the roster. I mean, those are 5 very strong players that you sub out, not to mention who I think most people would call the single best tournament player in the world, in Vaxe, is now gone. But the players who come back in, Digital Hypno, Arison, Exarch, Taquito, and Utami, those 5 players played really fantastically, and I think it would surprise a lot of people to know that some of the newer players had some of the single best average scores across the entire tournament. Utami played 12 maps but had 7 out of 8 scores counted with an 884,000 average. But even in spite of that, the entire team is huge. You can say that the average scores for this team were all way above average because basically everybody has average scores around that 800k range. This is a team that just has the full roster consistency at every stage, and it makes them so scary to go up against 7 out of 8 players with an over 800,000 score average for this team. That's just ridiculous.
It's unparalleled, right? That's why they're number 1.
I think the real question is, out of all those teams, that's placed below the US, how or will those remaining teams match this terrifying team? The fact that they're missing players like Vaxe, that is definitely a hit. But the fact is they have a stock of insane players. They can swap in and out, and they are still the team to beat. But we'll see what happens during the tournament. We'll see. This is a very competitive OWC. Nothing is decided yet, and I think this year could be very close, even with this team. I'm excited to see how other teams match up to the US team this year.
Yeah, well, congratulations to all the teams who qualified for the World Cup this year. Of course, the stream today is not quite done yet. We'll be taking a leave, but I'd like to pass things on over to OMG4s and a couple friends who are going to talk about the next round's map pool.
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for the wonderful qualifier results showcase. I mean, wonderful performances by everyone all around. And hopefully the map pool was also enjoyable for everyone involved to be playing. My name is OMG4s, I'm a map pool selector, and today I'm joined by someone who actually went from a mapper to a playtester to a map pool selector this year in the span of a week. It's gonna be Mazarin. How are you, Mazarin?
Yo, what's up? I'm doing great.
And next to Mazarin, we also have a bit of a supporting member here, Quality Assurance Team, to be a sanity check of RWBC this year around. It's gonna be the one who leads the pools of courses. It's gonna be Harslesh. Hello. How are you?
What's up? I'm doing pretty well, although sanity checked by the insanity is a recipe for disaster. But
Yeah, that might have been... you know what? We're so glad to have you on board. Because my insanity plus your insanity cancels out. We'll hopefully be sane for the end of the day. Well, yeah, we'll start with the map pools, I would say. I think that's what everyone's gonna wait for after this qualifier result. And we'll get right into Nomad 1, I would say. It's gonna be Imi Divine's game made by Now Tomorrow. It's a custom map. And it's 6.4 stars, 185 BPM. So a bit of a lower BPM. And the low BPM allows us to increase the spacing of the jumps a lot more and just get you into that uncomfortable jump spacing. Otherwise, it has jumps, it has bursts, it's a Nomad 1. You're welcome.
Yeah, I'd say on average the star rating is a bit deceptive for this one, since it's so slow. And there aren't many one-fourth bursts, which could raise the star rating further.
no mod 1 TM, right? Alright, when it comes to no mod 1, like, we know what happens, right? You have, big jumps, and that's kind of the deal. This one has a bit more interesting jumps than you'd expect out of, like, your typical farm map, though, so I will say that. So, like, a lot of, 2014, 2015-ish sort of patterns, except with much bigger spacing. That's why the absent are some of the 1-2s for the most part, and present are a lot of these, like, zigzags, not new comboed. So.
Yeah, I think the choke points will be this triangle pattern, for example. It's pretty easy to mess up.
Oh yeah, I think that happens like 3 times in the entire map, right? Like in the beginning...
In the beginning and the middle, I think, here, yeah.
Yeah. And I think right after the break or something, like somewhere at the end there should be something similar. But we could be lying, I mean, see it for yourselves. Don't trust us, we might be the map selectors, we should be the experts, but you know what, at this point, seeing so many maps, it's all a blur, it's just all a blur.
Oh, and watch out for the slow slider, soonish.
Yeah, also it is worth noting on the, CS is 3.8, so you've got a little bit of that, you've got a little bit of that, like, raw aim requirement being squeezed out, as opposed to, like, the slight precision so that comes from, like, 4.2 on a lot of jump maps these days, so might be a little unusual.
That's a really interesting thing we actually talk about a lot, which is just go big circles. In the Nomad 1, so you just have more raw aim movement. And it's something we definitely want to explore a bit more. You're gonna see a lot more CS 3.8 this year. It's totally not because we can't properly balance the maps to begin with, so we just added CS 3.8 to nerf them. It's definitely on purpose. Like this one. This was definitely not too hard when we first saw it. 100% not. I can assure you that.
Yeah, definitely force.
Yeah, so get me on some of that copium, bro, like...
By the way, I lied about the slider. Bartek actually hated it so much that he forced the mapper to change it. It was a fast slider.
So if you dislike slow sliders, you're in luck. Bartek is present.
It's true. Bartek has definitely left his mark on this pool. So, but yeah, it's funny with that slider. Like I think it was forced to be changed from a slow slider, and then it became like really fast. And because the mapper, now Tamori, everyone knows this guy loves to meme. This is no exception. So he put a fast slider instead, and then we had another playtester like say, "No, you need to do something about this slider. This is still messed up." And so he changed it in the last second.
Azerite and I played the map. I think Azerite and I missed the slider because it was too fast. It was pretty fun. But yeah, this was Nomad 1, and we'll start right with Nomad 2. Mapped by Wakaba. It's Noah Primal Screen. Mazin, what can you tell us about this map?
Well, for starters, this map is the slowest Nomad 2 in the entire tourney. And other than that, it's I would compare it to last year's Leaders map, but say it's way more intense on average. Basically, there's not as much downfight because the song choice is better, I'd say. The whole song is more streamy on average.
And what would you say about the focus of the map? Is it more stamina-wise heavy, or is it more stream aim focused, flow aim focused?
Oh well, this year we have a bit different approach on Nomad 2s. There's not as much of a depth stream focus. There's way more flowing focus, I'd say. And streams are generally shorter compared to last year. No ridiculous 200 note streams, well, especially in round of 32.
Alright, nice. Harvey, this mapper. It was so funny when I saw Wakaba's Hidden 1, I believe, in Perennial. I was like, this guy made a really good Nomad 2, but it's on Hidden 1. What if we just get him for Nomad 2? And then I got him on for DLC, and then like a few weeks later I noticed, wait, you put him on a Nomad 2 in Courses! It just happened in parallel. I was so surprised that he actually did a Nomad 2 in Courses.
Actually, I think he did it when Perennial. He did Nomad 6, so he definitely did something a bit out of his wheelhouse there. But yeah, no. You look at this is actually a recommendation from the playtester Skill himself. He's like, put my man Wakaba in for the Nomad 2s. We need to see more of this. And I'm like, okay. So we tried him in Courses. Song was a little suboptimal. Now we got him a better song. And I think he's delivering. Right, this is exactly what I think people want to see in a Nomad 2.
But he didn't have to change anything at all in this, I think, right?
There were a few angles. There were a few like Spartan flows, I would call them, which is where you have a jump going to one direction, like, and then the stream starts and goes 180 degrees right where you came from, which is really easy to break on. Like there were like 2 parts of that we changed, but otherwise it was pretty good to begin with. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't change the CS, the air, nothing. Oh, only the OD. Yeah.
Delivering for sure. Also, I just got word that Wakaba's actually a girl, so that's what I got from the sidelines.
That is great information. There we go. Wonderful job. Thank you, Wakaba, for mapping this.
Yep.
I mean, also Noah featured artist when?
Yeah, I know a certain mapper that starts with a D would really love to see that. Like, it's just waiting to happen.
Alright. Yeah. Consistently difficult, very comfortable all around. I hope you guys will enjoy this one. Alright, going into the alternate map, Nomad 3. It's gonna be a ranked map this time around by Moth. Not his map set though. And it's an alternate map, which is on the easier side in terms of patterns. There's not too complex patterns present in the map, but the way the map is difficult enough is mostly due to the consistency of it all. You have just a long map, miss potential pretty much everywhere. At the second half, it becomes slightly harder, just because of the solo, and there's like a 2 or 3 patterns that are slightly harder, a bit more complexity, but otherwise, I mean, a consistency alternate node map.
Yeah, you might have seen this song in other tourneys. They often use the top diff of this set, but this is the second top diff, I believe.
Let me check that for you. And you are incorrect. This is the third top diff. The second top diff is by Leon. Close enough though.
Yeah, this is what, a Kuyusu set, so I'm sure everyone has seen Kuyusu alt maps, like they've seen the sets. And this Moth map is actually kind of towards that style. I definitely remember Moth having a much like cleaner and more straightforward style, and he's kind of shifted away from that, and for the better, as just alt maps in general have shifted away from that sort of like space stream geometric like sort of style.
Yeah, and in this case, I also like that this has a good mix of flow aim and snap aim. Where if you take a close look, you see those like half circles or like almost circle streams, with like plenty of snap patterns. There's also a back and forth, like 1/4 for like 4 notes or something, like in the 2/3 part, I would say. I guess that's the most snap aim you can really have in something like this. Also, shout out to Nissan for single tapping this.
And at the end of the map, there's a transition from a 1/4 pattern to a 1/3. Watch out for that.
Yeah, this is actually I think the longest map in the entire pool, if you don't count the tiebreaker. Yeah, it actually is. I'm not lying. Hey, I got my stats ready. Wonderful. Yeah. If you notice that this pool is easier than the qualifier pool, you are correct. The qualifier pool is set to be difficult, difficult is set to be between round of 16 and quarterfinals. So next week and the week after that are mostly gonna be more similar to the qualifier pool. We're gonna start off easier and then we'll slowly scale upwards again.
Yeah, that was the back and forth.
Over quick, huh? But yeah, no, 4-minute alt map, like, you know, what can you do? That's most of the songs, like, they tend to be on these songs tend to be on the longer side, so 4-minute common standard for this. It was common with like the Val, like Vocaloid alt maps, and we're seeing that here as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably Tech and Alternate are probably the hardest songs to like actually choose. In terms of like song length, you always have to like bank on more length, or like have a bigger length budget for those songs, because all good alternate songs like 4 minutes, and finding a 3 to 2 minutes long alternate song that is intense throughout for tournament viability, it's a pain.
And then Tech's got the opposite problem, right? Of like, oh, it's always 2 minutes, and then you have to find something that's actually intense for 2 minutes.
Yeah, 1 minute build up, 30, and then 30 seconds of like intensity, and that's it. That's the climax.
Yep.
Alright, moving on, we got Nomad 4. Speaking of Tech, we got the Be With You mapped by Altai, a custom map. Mazarin.
Yeah, what
Tech.
can I say? Altai popped off on this one. This map is really good. I love it. It's pretty different from the qualifiers one. I think it has a way larger slider focus on average compared to the 1/4 patterns. You're gonna see like sliders right out the bat. Yeah, right here.
Man, for some reason, when you say Altai popped off,
Really did.
I felt a hint of sarcasm for some reason, but I think
no.
that's just the way
None at all.
it is. I mean, yeah, it's I like to draw parallel lines to and comparisons to courses, where I think a lot of the maps ended up being a bit more aim focused. That's something we try to mostly not have. Also, shout out to these sliders here. You definitely need to be aware of them.
Yeah, practice the map.
If you're not, you can miss here 100%. But yeah, otherwise. We try to still have that tech feeling in a map, but it's like low star rating obviously, so you can't have too much like cut streams galore and too high of an SV. Well, hopefully the map feels techy enough for every player involved.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of pretty messed up sliders. Some of them have ticks on them, so I think the tech element is definitely present. Yeah. Watch
Yeah,
it.
you have to follow the sliders.
Yeah, Sliders go brr. We'll have more Sliders go brr maps later on, trust me, but yeah, this is the introduction to tech, I would say, in this tournament.
Oh man, you even tossed in fast reverses? Like, woo! No, this is definitely prepping players for what's coming.
Alright, and we're going right into No Mod 5. Speaking of courses comparisons, doesn't this one seem a bit familiar to you, Harvey? Do you want to take the wheel for this one?
Oh man, I remember this. Yeah, so this is this map was actually featured in Corsace Open 2020. It is a No Mod 5 by now this point an iconic No Mod 5 mapper, none other than Zelf. This is the map that got it all started. So it is exactly what you signed up for. 200 BPM burst, like first chaining into burst. Like this is you just can you tap 240 BPM, and what a way to start off on round of 32 with something that actually requires speed, right? So even though this is a bit slow for a lot of the people that actually focus on this, I think people will still be overall satisfied with this.
Yep, for under 32, 240 is pretty high, I'd say. Like on average, you have you see 230 often, 255, as in last year OWC.
Yeah, last year I think it was 222, 225, yeah, like really low, so it ended up being a bit more streamy, which wasn't really the idea behind it, but just for balancing purposes we had to go for it. But yeah, this one it's short, spicy, has a bunch of bursts for you, like obviously occasional double or something, but like, I mean, I think this is a quintessential No Mod 5.
Yeah, there's not much being controlled. Like most of the doubles are just under the sliders.
Yeah. Shout out to Nissan for carrying the replay so far. We will have hopefully more replay variety later on. But so far, I mean, Nissan just popped up.
Yeah, this guy decided to play the pool one day and he FC'd like literally every map. What can you do?
Yeah, pretty much. Thank you, Nissan. Alright, and we'll get into the hidden bracket. It's hidden one Sound Solar Bubble Flower by Keking or Ilchas. This is a custom map, also another featured artist song. And this one is a really interesting one. So, Maestro, how about you tell us what this one's all about?
Yeah, this one is like, it's kind of aim focused, but it's slightly awkward. It has a lot of these kick slider jumps. It doesn't look hard, but it's really easy to miss on, I'd say. Like, everyone felt that way who played it. There's also a 1/3 part in the end. It's not really complex, it's just phase doubles mostly. You can probably even single tap them.
It's gonna be hard to actually get a full picture of this Harvey, I would say. Like, I think you definitely need to see more than half of it, but it is very easily missable. Like, playtesting gave us a lot of varied scores all around. Do not underestimate this map at all.
Yeah, I can see it. There's just a lot of jumps just kind of require more focus than you expect them to. A lot of this patterning looks really simple. It looks like, oh yeah, it's just some like 1-2s and some triangles and such. And then it's just not. And then you just have like some cut streams that just come at you sort of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like it needs more focus than like your average map, for example, compared to the No Mod 1.
This is definitely along the lines of the Qualifier's hidden one, actually, where it's just, you know, it's just like, oh yeah, it looks totally normal until it's not at all.
Yeah, here's the 1/3 section.
Oh yeah, there's some stuff going on. Definitely feels like kind of a weird consistency sort of pick. Ilja is a pretty good fit for that.
Yeah, because it's like intense for the entirety of it, it's rather short. But you know, short and sweet should fit the bill for this one. You cannot lose concentration for a single second, except for the break maybe. But yeah, that's about it. Alright, and we'll get right into Hidden 2 with the most... Alright, this this is a Delis and Mirage collab. And I don't know where to begin with this. So the map itself, it's jump focused. If you know Delis Mirage, you know exactly what to expect from this map. You have pattern aim, really fun and intuitive patterns mostly out of it. This map has a pretty long sections of circles. Just be sure to snap all of them. They're not too spaced, so they should be okay. Even if you don't have the best normal one aim. But man, this map has so much history. But let's get back into the map. Maybe Nazrin or Halfie has something to say about
No
this.
shot they actually mapped this. Okay, this song has a Blissful Yoshi map from 2010, and it's I can see the inspiration from the intro part, which is all kind of grid focused. It feels like a reference to that map. So it's if that was the intent, well done. If not, wow, this is just applicable the same way. But yeah, it's wow. I did not expect to see this song.
And compared to the Qualifiers one, it's way more approachable. The BPM is way more standard, and it doesn't have any one-chord basically, except those triples. They're really not the focus of the map.
Well, this is actually made by people that emulate an older style rather than some wacko that was given approach rate 8 hidden. So of course it's gonna be more approachable. So if you like to put hidden double time on old aim maps, it's kind of you'd be able to read pretty well. And if you just don't put hidden double time, you just put hidden, then sure. Maybe it's you were just this god gamer in 2012 and you decided to come back for OWC 2021. Sure, you can, you'll be right at home with this one.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the map, but I still can't believe how cursed getting these two mappers in and talking about them finding a song and just getting the map done. It's such a curse but fun experience at the same time.
This is so bizarre. You tell Mirage the specs and what kind of a song he needs, and he's like, does this work? But I don't know the BPM nor the length.
Yeah, he sends a song, he doesn't know the length and BPM of, both are not fitting, and you're like, oh my god. And I think Delis mapped the entire part of his sections on an iPad.
Yeah.
I don't know, this is insane. Absolutely insane, but I love it.
Hey, can we talk about the miso soup thread? Or
No, we don't talk about the
repeats
miso soup
files?
They post. Oh no, we don't talk about that. That is a story for another time, because we'll get right into Hard Rock 1. Jesus Christ. And it's gonna be a old map. I'm not gonna pronounce the name. You can read it for yourself at the wonderful cars at the bottom. It's a 210 BPM jump map with a few bursts here and there, and it was recently added actually. Masin, did you take a deeper look at this? How recent it is?
I've played it a bunch back in the day, and I don't know, it's pretty consistent. It's 210 BPM. And previously we actually had a 210 BPM old map too. I don't remember the song name, because it's also
very Japanese. Yeah.
It was basically a pink-haired Japanese song Hatsune Miku map.
Oh yeah. But this one was deemed a bit more engaging and not too wonky, because that map had really awkward things in it. This one more so. I mean, it's RSC, right? I would say it's almost like the birth of this. I mean, let's get Harvey to talk about RSC. What can you tell us about RSC here for this stage of the OS mapping history?
Yeah, okay, so this is a 2013 map, so I classify this as early modern, right? So when you talk about fathers of the generic mapping style that we see today, RLC definitely comes in hot. This is the same year that he released the Pretender, so everyone knows that map. So it's kind of that sort of style. It feels like Natsume Rin-esque though in a way too, with how you see a lot of like low spacing linear like wiggle sort of stuff thrown in along with the geometric jump patterns. So you've got that going on, but overall it's still just like pretty comfortable in terms of jumps. None of the patterns are really hard to read. It's just some of the spacing might be a little wonky if you're not used to it, particularly out of sliders. But otherwise, nothing crazy.
Actually, initially, Bartek suggested the Skyster different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were like, let's do the OC one because the Skyster one was already used.
Yeah, Skyster was used back in 2016, and we do have the rule in Odyssey. We cannot reuse a map or like a difficulty in the next 5 iterations of Odyssey. So fun fact, that actually makes it a lot easier for the future the more custom maps we have, because you can't really reuse custom maps because they're not taking anything out of a fixed pool of ranked maps. So like you could maybe start seeing some 2015, 2016 repeats in the next years, who knows?
Yeah, otherwise, I'd say this fits the bill pretty well for what you'd expect out of a Hard Rock 1. It's on the higher BPM side, but most of the difficulties coming from jumps. Like, yeah, there are a couple streams, but streams are all shorter than 9 notes, so they're also not too crazy to aim. Also, the BPM is high enough that AR10 actually feels comfortable, so even if the patterns are a little wonky, reading this shouldn't be too difficult either.
Alright, also thank you Bartek for getting the replay on this today. And we'll get right into the next map, Hard Rock 2, the CS6.5 Precision map. And it makes me wonder, another featured artist song? This one was actually, I believe, a custom map from a different tournament. But we are repurposing it for the Hard Rock 2 map here. Also, the star rating is a lot higher because of the recent star rating adjustments. So one thing I can definitely tell you is star rating is all over the place. Don't trust anything really what you see because you see some wild changes. And if you think something was 6.4 and it's suddenly 6.55, well, play it yourself and see if it's actually that much more difficult. But yeah, this one is all about precision, has jumps, pattern aim here and there, and some of the bursts. It's, I would say, a mix of both, but mostly focused towards the aim aspect.
Yeah, this one's like also lower on the BPM side than the other ones. As a result, it might require a little more focus. Higher AR at lower BPMs tends to do that. So 172 BPM, not exactly the most comfortable BPM to read AR10 at. So beware there. And just in general, like combine that with the CS 6.5, you do require a little bit of focus. But the actual aim requirement is not that insane. You have a lot of jumps that kind of like, you know, occupy the same portion of the screen, or they're really linear to follow, and then you know, focus on a smaller circle, so you don't have to worry too much about it.
Yeah, for Hard Rock 2, this doesn't do many play field manipulations, and you can see it comfortably makes you move from one side to the other, and so on.
Also, fun fact, this is, I believe, a collab between two mappers, one of them being Alveria and the other person being Calicube.
Yep.
Who maps just about the ending. Who knows, maybe that's a map we will see in the near future again.
I was looking forward to seeing Obama Cube actually, but
True, yeah, I think I would rather see Obama Cube actually.
I guess Cali wouldn't be that bad though.
I mean, we still have time. We can still bin Cali and get Obama Cube instead, I would say.
True.
Alright.
Definitely doable.
That's the plan for after the showcase. Alright, we'll get into the next map. That was the Hard Rock bracket. We'll get into the double time bracket, DT1. Hard Rock has a dance by Yogurt, someone who you remember from the qualifiers on Hard Rock 1, this time on DT1, Mazarin. What's the focus of this one?
Yeah, it's pretty much your bread and butter DT1. You have your jumps and some slight bursts, but they're really not the focus of the map. And if you can aim this, then bursts are definitely not going to be a problem. I think it's worth mentioning the star rating too. It's like pretty high for a DT1 compared to the Nomad one, but as far as already mentioned, star rating changes.
Yeah, this one was really wide. When you play a 6.6 star DT1, and you're like, what, this is 0.2 stars higher than Nomad one, you play it and you're like, huh, this actually isn't that hard. And then we played the multiplayer lobby and we got the best scores on this one. I don't know, it's really, how should I put it, misleading on like stuff like this, where you just have low spacing because of the high BPM. It's so much more comfortable than like the high spacing, low BPM Nomad one.
Yeah, and it's especially notable if the Nomad one is not as focused on one ports.
Yeah, also something noteworthy is in the KIs you see a bunch of jumps and then triple or two. So like you have a few triples here and there, as you can see, those 3 triples there. It's like it kind of spikes into the jumps, into the triples, but if you have enough speed, they shouldn't be too much of an issue. But you do have a slight speed requirement, so you can't just like fully alternate the map and be like the slowest player on the team as still have seen.
Yeah, I don't have much to add on this one other than Aragay. I would say anime, that's the trademark, but I know a lot of mappers that would get really upset if I, did not distinct between anime and Aragay. So, gotta say it out there for the boys. And
yeah, I mean, we got some good informants in our team who can probably differentiate between both. We'll probably just get a list for the next stage pool, so we don't make a mistake there. How dare we?
yeah.
Alright, that was DT1, and we'll get right into DT2. There's BDT, another custom map by Elch here. Low spacing, bunch of bursts, it's DT2. There you go. I think that's about it, isn't it? Also, it's a cool song.
I mean, you basically did just say it all, right? Not the first, probably not the last time we'll be seeing Elchier in for a speedier map. Pretty much what you'd expect. If you remember his Nomad 5 from last year, here is the DT2 variant of this. It is worth noting that DT2 is on the higher BPM side, as opposed to like you normally expect DT2 as your mid DT BPM sort of thing. This is 248 BPM. This is definitely the speed focus pick, but it feels like it has those like Nomad 5-ish elements where it's like you have bursts into singles and you kind of have those repeated. But this is basically, can you tap the BPM quickly? That's kind of what's going on.
Yeah, this one has more of a burst consistency check rather than checking for speed. The Nomad 5 has many more 9-node bursts.
Yeah, fun fact actually, DT2 was supposed to be for round of 16, and we actually swapped them. I believe the same happened for DT1.
Yeah.
So pretty much the round of 16, DT1, DT2 just got swapped to round of 32 because that's just the way it ended up being. So yeah, this is on the easier side. We'll get higher BPM after some rounds. We also have more spacing in our DT2s and stuff. Don't worry, so if you ever want even more of a speed challenge, you'll get it.
Yeah, that is... I see. So, I do have to ask, what prompted the shift of having like the faster map in DT2 versus the slower map?
Oh, actually, I don't know. To be honest, every year seems to have a different ordering. Like, usually what we did once was just ordered all the DTs by BPM. That's something what we did 2018. And now we just do DT1 aim, DT2 speed, DT3 whatever, and then later on it's just like kind of a slot has a slide identity. But otherwise, I mean, it's what it is. Yeah, and we get to DT3, and hey, Harvey, wanna tell us something about this map? How did this one come about?
Oh man, how did this one come about? Okay, so this, first of all, the top difficulty for this was mapped for another tournament, Nick's Winter Cup, 1v1 tournament that happens in January. So this is the Grand Finals hidden, AR8 hidden, but I needed to make a spread for that. And so I'm like, hey, do you guys need a DT finger control thing? I need to make this spread. And I've been slacking on it. And they're like, yeah, hey, we need to replace this, like, 210 BPM thing that we don't like. So it's like, you can just map this. I'm like, great. So that's that big efficiency. So I went and finished this difficulty, and the rest of the spread while I was at it. So that's what we're seeing here, right? Like 224 BPM. It's definitely a lot about like space bursts and space triples. It's got some doubles and such. So finger control is necessary, but nothing too crazy. I think it's like more of, it's like you can tap this, you should be fine. Just don't lose focus because it's a little bit trickier to aim some of the bursts than you might initially expect.
Alright, nice. Anything else to add to that, Masterin?
Yeah, we had to buff this one a bit. At first it was a bit too easy, but we decided on buffing the spacing and we hit the target exactly, I think.
Oh, by the way, be careful of the slider. I think FG Sky and I both missed on it. Even though we knew it's gonna come up. I don't know. If you're not aware of it, you might think it just stays on the right side.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe we're just brain dead while play testing this, but it can happen.
Yeah.
Alright, but you know, Harslashed and Zuno, like a Toho song, name a better duo, I'll wait. Oh yeah, next map, it's gonna be Fremont 1 by Kisada, another featured artist song, and it's gonna be a Yusumi method, background and method, I would say. It's, I would say, a spiritual successor to Panda Heroes map from last year, where you have a lower approach rate, high density, and a bunch of bursts and jumps. So both hidden and hard really balanced in that way, you know, pretty low-ish BPM with 176.
Yeah, so this map reminds me a lot of another map I really like from Kisata under her old name of Apafi, known as Renai Syndrome. I think it was actually by the same artist, and it might have struck a little bit of PTSD with that song name for some people, since infamously that Renai Syndrome song was used in one of the BN tests of like 2016 or 2017. So, but anyways, yeah, no, Lime song, a little bit streamy, pretty comfortable overall. It's kind of what this map is. I will say though that this map, speaking of maps that had to go through some iterations, I think this map went through like 10 iterations.
Yeah.
So
we had to. It was a bit too easy at first. Let's just say that.
And wait to buff nerf, buff nerf.
Yeah,
nerf.
we ended up like over buffing it a bit.
Yeah, I do think it is. I mean, it really depends on what player you are, but I would definitely say it's like 60-40 for hard rock difficulty. But I think we got a decent balance here for I would say a generic-ish Fremont 1. But yeah, we'll try to move from the generic Fremont 1 into the a bit more spicier Fremont 2, another featured artist, but also a ranked map. Mazarin, what can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, I knew about this map, but I didn't even think of slotting it in. Bartek found it, and I was like, yeah, let's go, this is good. It has alternate section later on in the song. And the map, obviously.
Yeah, it's 200 BPM, has jumps, has bursts, and the alternate section. I think it's definitely a very varied experience. A lot of things happening at once in this map. So to me,
Yeah, it's very well rounded, this map. Does a lot of things.
Halfie, are you still trying to take it all in, or do you know something about this map? Have you seen it in
Look,
the wild?
all I know is that if you didn't tell me that Bartek pulled this, I would have guessed that Mazarin pulled this. This is like his type of song, his type of diff name, his type of background, his type of slider design. Like this is like a Mazarin. This is a Mazarin pick in thought and spirit. So
yeah, I kind of forgot about this map.
Also, fun fact: the map it does show 6.2 star rating, but that's the star rating I believe after Harbor. It's 5.68 before Harbor. Or at least that's with the old star rating because I have the old values in front of me. Yeah, this will hopefully be remedied in the following week when we get all the updated star rating values. It is approaching 9 flat on normal and 8.7 OD. So it has a bit of density aspect with the 200 BPM and approaching 9 flat.
It's also pretty short and sweet. That's always a plus.
Yeah.
yeah, BPM changes, space like yeah, BPM changes, lots of 200 BPM consistency, a little bit of aim. Like this thing has it all.
And now we have to mentally prepare for what is coming up. This one also has a lot of history. Oh no. But yeah, it's time for the tiebreaker. The DJ Sharpman Fake Promise Nisemono by Takeki? What? It's a custom map. It has jumps, it has bursts, it has the background as a reference to the ranked version by Urushi. And oh, I don't know where to start. Maybe you guys will chime in first before we start with the history behind this.
Where do I even start? First of all, what? Like, Takeki? This is not... So, Takeki, aka Nana Abe, you know, if you've been following tournaments for the past couple years, you've seen a custom map of his. He usually does, like, an aim pick. Here he is getting his tiebreaker, right? Like, never would have seen this coming, but it makes sense in hindsight. But a little bit of backstory on this one is that the pooler Bartek wanted to see Fake Promise mapped for round of 32 tiebreaker. And so he was like, alright, I want this map. And so Fords was like, what the hell? Like, mappers need to be able to, like, pick their songs. You can't just make them map songs. And we, like, name dropped this in another server in a voice chat. And then, like, Takeki picked it up. And he's like, yo, this is a banger! So I'm like, so then internally we argued for, like, couple more days. And I'm like, Fords, you need to let Takeki map this. Like, you need to put him in for this. Mainly, so we you know, here he is, the Bartek enabler himself, delivering a banger round of 32 tiebreaker.
Thank you, Bartek.
Jesus Christ, like, trying to tell Bartek that's not how it works, and then it works, I'm just surrounded by Bartek enablers. And that's also where the copy pasta came out. Takeki was like, dude, this is so long after he finished like 3 minutes. I don't know how to finish it, and then he found the copy pasta he created. Half-searched outdated, Chief was overrated. Long have we waited, Bartek activated. Like, Bartek being enabled here, and that was his motivation to finish the map. And to be honest, this turned out pretty well. I would say it's a pretty balanced tiebreaker all around. You have a lot of longer streams, you have some bursts, you have jumps, mix of comfortable stuff and not comfortable stuff. You have these sliders into 1/6. They are stacked, there's no spacing, just be sure to not get too many 100-2.
Yeah, compared to last year, this one is way more accessible, I'd say, because this song isn't variable timing, and overall it doesn't have as many BPM changes. It's basically just this 1/6 part.
Yeah, I'd say this is a tiebreaker, is just a natural fit for Takeki, as his style has kind of evolved over the years. Started as the no mod 1, like DT1, HR1 sort of guy, and now he's using a lot more varied patterning and you know, some weirder angles, and he loves to get those streams in there. So it's like a bit of for all about the tiebreaker, right? Multi-skill, and you know, apparently he's a DJ Shrapnel fan, so sure, why not? By the way, the Bartek enabler himself is Bartek himself. So Bartek enables himself. Like that is that should serve as an inspiration and a warning for those of you in the audience.
Also, I would argue Takeki is his partner in crime.
He's definitely complicit. Yes. Yeah, it just kind of goes, right? Like, doesn't really slow down, you know, jumps, there's streams.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing for around the 52.
Yeah.
You don't, like, test too many things at once.
All I'm saying is you're not getting bored playing this. I guarantee it.
Yeah, at the ending there's a bit more of a focus on longer 3/4 sliders and some doubles here and there. So you do have a little bit of rhythm, if you want to call it that. It's just not, you know, the same consistent what half jumps into triples or whatever. So you do have a bit of variance all around the song.
Oh yeah, I did also just notice it's got that CS 3.8 aesthetic that you were talking about. Yeah,
this
cool.
map definitely wasn't too hard when we first saw it. No, it wasn't. 100% not. This was deliberately chosen to be CS 3.8, like every other CS 3.8 map this tournament. 100%.
Bartek was really trying to assess this.
Yeah, he did. He did, but it's really hard when you have the 1/8, 1/6 part. Like, it's really low spacing, but it's pretty easy to 100. And it's so long that getting an actual assess on a match is gonna be absolutely insane if you do it.
Yeah, the length is a bit of an interesting one. I mean, this is nearly 7 minutes. At least in terms of song length, I think the first minute or so is skipped, though, right?
Yeah, it's skipped. Yeah, it's just like 6 minutes.
6 minutes. You know, most of the time when we see tiebreakers these days, it's like around 5. So this one's like definitely towards the long end. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean the background behind it is it's mostly like it's just up to song choice, really. If people find better 5-minute songs that suit as a tiebreaker, then that's just the way it is. We could even go down to 4 minutes or 4 minutes 30 seconds as a tiebreaker if it's like consistent enough for the entirety. But there's just, I don't think, almost no songs in that length or that intensity for tournament viability. So it's like, this is just the way it is. Sometimes 6 minutes, sometimes 5. Just time around, there you go, a 6-minute tiebreaker. Alright, and that concludes the round of 32 Mappool showcase. All the competitors will be playing this pool specifically for the upcoming weekend, for which we'll get the schedules out hopefully soon. Yeah, I hope the map pools are gonna be fun to play and are varied enough for everyone to find their niche and also their song of choice. And otherwise, if you guys want to say something?
I think that's it. I think we're good.
Yep.
Alright.
Have fun practicing.
Thank you on the behalf of the entire ODC staff, the World Cup staff actually. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Yep.
It's a beautiful place.